galactic sentient broadcast. Target, planet Earth. Begin invasion in 3, 2, 1.
Greetings, invaders. My name is Scott. Welcome to Book Invasion, where we talk about some fantasy sci-fi horror books. Thanks for joining me. So let's talk about the recent books that I've read in the last couple months. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Ring Shouts by P. Djeli Clark. This horror novella, was absolutely amazing, especially on audio. It's just one of those where it has like the historical context. It has these fantastically described beasts. It has this amazing narration for the characters and the monsters as well. They're just really creepy. They really get the imagination going with the narration on some of these. It has that awesome action. It has that gore. It has that mental twist of, emotion and feeling, like the hatred that these creatures feel. But then again, if you hate the creatures so much, do you harness as much hate as they do for you, kind of thing? And then there's this other realm of being where these like council of guardians are at. It has so many awesome things in it in this little package, and it blew me away. I really want to get reading into more of the author's stuff, but Ring Shout was my first experience, and it was amazing. It was fantastic. I was weary just because I don't like historical fiction and yada yada. But this was just like, yeah, it's a little bit of the big concepts of history, but we don't go into the minuscule details. It's just, here's the era that we're at. Here's a thing that's a monster that's coming. Here's the people who are fighting it, and here's the reason why. But then there's just layers on layers of different awesome, very cool things that happen in this book. That was Ring Shot. I recommend you check it out on audio if you have the ability to. It was fantastic. The next book that I finished was actually a book that I was listening to on audio with my kids, which is Minecraft, The Island, written by Max Brooks. It's just a Minecraft story about a nameless person, we never know what his name is, who wakes up on an island and everything is kind of brand new. They're just discovering the way Minecraft works. They're discovering things are all square. He has no fingers. He just has square hands. He can't itch his face or something like that. And it's narrated by Jack Black, the audio is, and it was fantastic. It was just kind of an introductory thing into Minecraft. They really haven't ever played the game before. They're just starting to play the game now. But listening to this, they never really played it. They just heard about it from kids at school and so on like that. But Jack Black does a really good narration. He gets you kind of excited about the discoveries that they make on this island and how to craft things and how the blocks work. And there's a cow that's his friend and the chicken that he meets and the zombies. And it really does a good job on teaching kind of those life lessons. I was really impressed by, the trial and error, the things, here's the rules to live by in Minecraft or just in general. But it really kind of teaches and embeds those throughout the whole story. It was really great. Well done by Jack Black. Max Brooks does a really great story, not making it too spooky, just laying it on just enough, and there's sound effects there with zombies and things like that in the audio. So that was The Island by Max Brooks. Listen to it with the kids. It's a great middle grade story. The next one I dove into was A History of What Comes Next by Sylvain Neuvel. I did post a full review of this book. My thoughts were just kind of ho-hum on it. There were the concepts and glimpses of those things that Sylvain Neuvel does really well in the Themis Files trilogy. You get that same kind of narration. The characters were great. The way that it was played out was good. It had a bit of a slow start, and then at the end, you're kind of left with more questions about who these people are, where do they come from, which is kind of what he did in the Themis Files as it goes on. So you can watch my review for that one if you are so inclined. The next book I read was The Rage Room by Laura De Nicolitz. This was hailed as kind of a sci-fi satirical comedy about going back in time to fix something, but then you end up just making it a whole lot worse. So I really didn't enjoy this book. It kind of flopped around a lot about concepts, and then it got really raunchy, and it was like, wait, why was this so explicit all of a sudden? What's going on? And then it got into just this kind of sophomoric humor a little bit. and it wasn't really funny. The characters that were there, I don't know, it didn't resonate with me really at all. It wasn't the author's first book that they wrote. I felt like a lot of moments in the story, I was scratching my head like, wait, is this the same story I was just reading? And why is this so weird now? Like, everything kind of got weird. And then I kind of lost it. And then in the middle of it, some of the characters go away, and then these new group of characters start halfway through, and you're like, who are these people and why do I care again? And then the time traveling thing starts, and I ended up just kind of skipping towards the end. It's like, okay, he does this, he screws that up, and he goes back and does it again, and he screws it up again. And the end was kind of a weird thing, but the way that it was constructed and put together, I didn't feel like had a strong foundation, I guess. Well, the next one I dove into was an indie release I was gifted by the author Destin J. Munden, called Dusk Mountain Blues. So this one I thought was really fantastic. So what the story's about is kind of this backwater planet. It's all kind of a westerny bayou family where everybody's, talking with a southern drawl. Like, the narrator of this he had that gravelly southern voice. And so he really did a good job with the characters. So they're all, a really close-knit family, a large family that are living in the Dusk Mountains. And they don't like outsiders. They scrap for their vehicles. And there's a talk about old classic weapons and a shotgun and a 6-shooter and things like that. But it takes place in the future. So they talk about the old world, and they see a city off in the distance, like a dilapidated city from the old world. It's all beat up and decrepit and so on like that. So it's taking place, far in the future, where this family is kind of now living off of these metal scraps from the old world and building and constructing vehicles and weapons. But the family also is kind of a hush-hush experiment of mutants by some larger, who knows yet. And they each kind of go by their own nickname, which kind of represents their ability. And so we learn about this family and kind of why they're there, the Caldwells. And it starts off by the father, the main Caldwell guy, kind of running from the people who are trying to catch him in the Bluecoats. So again, it's kind of another old classic historical reference, is that the Caldwells are living on this planet. The Bluecoats are coming after them to kind of eradicate them and get them off the planet, to remove them from ever being seen by human eyes, because they're abominations of science. They were experimental people, and we need to get rid of them to clean this planet off so new people can come inhabit it. So the Caldwells are here in the Dusk Mountains defending their territory from the Bluecoats, who are coming to get rid of them. And the way that these abilities and their mutant abilities kind of come to life is really awesome. The battles are awesome. It's kind of like, the reject backwater X-Men versus the T-1000 Terminators or something like that. So their enhanced cyborgs are the Bluecoats, who are coming to remove them. So it's kind of the beast versus machine battle that clashes. And so, they're out-muscled. The mutants are out-muscled, but it's the like, how are we going to beat them? Oh, we do what we always do. We just pull through, and we put we come together and we pull through. The Caldwells are going to do it again. And so there's a really cool, rich kind of piece of that, the family aspects, the way they have to go and find help amongst their cousins over in the swamps and stuff like that. So there's a really awesome mix of environments between like a backwater bayou version of the future with cybernetic, cyborgs. It was really awesome. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Destin, for the audio of that. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend that you go check it out if you want some cool indie sci-fi story. It was really awesome. And the last book that I just finished recently was Devolution by Max Brooks, subtitle, First-Hand Account of the Rainier Sasquatch Massacre. I wanted to get into this one. Sasquatch is kind of cool. The upper Midwest is cool. I've been there before. And so I got into the audio of this. Judy Greer is our main narrator, reading her diary entries from a person who moves to this Green Loop community, like a self-sustaining community beside Mount Rainier in Washington. And it shows her accounts of the encounters that they've had with Sasquatch and the beast, and them coming to terms with, it's not real. But it is real, and then they kind of discover how can they defend themselves from this attack, and the families in here have their own dynamic. I felt like it was a really slow build to the action, which happened in like the last quarter of the book. There are a few characters that I was kind of intrigued by, but most of them I didn't connect with. The main character was, just a person writing, and I didn't have any emotional connection with that. Mostar was kind of an awesome, very curious character that I wanted to learn more about. But all in all, it was a slow build. I didn't feel connected. The action was cool at the end, but I felt like the 75% of it that was the build up and learning about the sustainability of the houses and yada yada. Like it could have been taking place anywhere. I guess that was part of the story. But it didn't hit hard for me. Maybe a 3-star book. It's kind of stretching it. But that was Devolution by Max Brooks. It was all right. So those are all the books I read in the last couple months. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you do check some of these out. Support some indie authors. Go read some good books. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.